guy that there was no way to come back from that. She was like, oh, wait, never mind. This guy's trying to start his own fucking company. This guy's like poverty central over here. But, I mean, that's such his life. It is a great view. But the AC Hotel, the 5430 up at the top, that view that overlooks Pikes Peak is a pretty solid view. And that is a question I want to ask, because I do agree. It is the best view of Denver. Why? And I'm going to refer this to Kayla. Why do we not have more rooftop bars that face the goddamn mountains in the sunset?
Yeah.
Am I fucking crazy? Or we're building skyscrapers. How is there not shout out to Cindy's in fucking Chicago that overlooks the lake and the Bean. Shout out to fucking New York and the Soho Club. I mean, everywhere has got a goddamn rooftop bar that is like, bang for your buck. Why don't we have one? And also, what's your go-to date night spot that you would prefer?
Ooh, well, I think
best meal.
You know what? There's something about if you get dressed up at L5, it can sometimes feel maybe, depending on how you feel about the guy, a little over the top. Like maybe sometimes
I don't really like the guy.
Already?
Finn's Manor.
Thank you. And shout out to our friends at Finn's.
So Finn's Manor is your date night spot?
Yes, because it's just a party.
I love
It's
Finn's
such
Manor.
A party.
That's speaking of setting the bar high, if your date can handle being at Finn's Manor with you, that is a tough dude.
Well, I went out with someone that was 35, and I took him to Ratio, and he went, everyone's so young here. And I didn't really feel that way, but he felt aged out there. So I know that's also a concern.
That's his problem.
I think so, too.
Finn's just because it's so, in a good way, so much going on.
Yes.
And so many people, and like...
True, so you're not going to have that kind of like...
It's almost like it's almost like you need the buddy system.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. What else do we got?
Okay, so by the way, that's a great name drop for date spots, because we've been very big proponents of Finn's. So
love that place.
I know, and it's eclectic. You can get beer or hard liquor or... Right. And then it's food trucks, so kind of like waters it down. Whereas you may set the bar high with
transportive. You don't feel like you're in Denver. You feel like you're in some New Orleans party mecca.
I love how you
it's
said
crazy.
that.
I would go to say like L5's kind of like maybe a second, third date option, or maybe like one with your significant other.
He's
whereas
married.
whereas Finn's Manor, like if you're having that first date, it's easy, it's crowded, there's lots of shit going on. You can eat different things. You can enjoy like several drinks, so it's a good place.
Yeah.
I like that.
I take my comment back. I think you're on point.
Yeah.
But I do still think it weeds out the weak.
It does. I like that.
And I think y'all are both
that.
right. As a gentleman that has dated someone that did first date at L5, it sets the bar very high.
Sure.
But it's a great date location, not first date. And I may have misspoken when if I'm referenced first date, but Finn's is a great way to kind of like segue your way into, does your significant other party, like what's the distance of like casual food to nice cocktail ratio.
Right.
I think y'all just kind of like gelled that perfect answer.
I think that's it then. Yeah, because you could. It's also because of location and everything that's going on. You could bounce to other places down there.
That's a bonus for me. That's a bonus.
Which bounces off your Dio Mio, which makes you want to reinforce Bama's. See how I said it right this time, cocksucker? Let's go. What would be the best restaurant you've eaten in the last couple months?
Best meal.
Or best meal, excuse me.
I have to say, Uchi blew my mind. I felt like, so I have this idea, my great uncle, who's Italian, once ate a meal so good that he slammed his hand on the table and the silverware all bounced up. So I always am like, did it hit that? Does it feel that good that the silverware is bouncing off the table? And Uchi is that. I mean, everything we ate, the guy that I went with, we were just looking at each other like, what is happening here? And I don't even consider myself a foodie. I mean, I grew up, we didn't have a lot of money to eat out. I didn't, that's not where I'm from. I don't even know if I have the palate to, say, that kind of thing. I just know what I like.
Cheese dip guy over here.
Sure, cheese dip.
Fajitas.
But I went to Uchi and they had this dayboat scallop, and I was just like, I'd never tasted anything like it because it was so simple and so fresh. but so good.
And that's awesome. And I think though, like, foodie is such a dumb term. I think what's magical about food and what people really enjoy, and like you said, like you were thinking about that time when your dad like hit the table and forks flew up. You know, I think you don't need to be a foodie. You don't need to have some sophisticated palate. If there's something about an experience that you have from the moment you walk in with the hospitality and the way the food tastes, and if that brings some kind of good feeling to you, or if that creates some kind of memory, then that's what it's all about. So, like, the foodie fucks, that's just really stupid.
Let them join the Yelp elite, and then
I was going to mention Yelp. You can like be passionate about food, be a foodie. Just don't be a douche about it, right?
Exactly. Like
you could be synonymous. Is that the right term?
But
synonymous.
I would
Yelp
never,
eliters and douchebag, like, and especially those that tag themselves. I'm calling you out on your Instagram profiles. Fucking change yourself. That's absurd. Like, that's absurd to pride yourself on belittling restaurants based off of somebody else's day or their entrees.
Well, Fat Guy has this great story about.
I need you to tell us that
He
because
told
they'll
me
stop in
he
the middle.
said he went out with a Yelp elite person to a foodie dinner, and he said that the person prided themselves on ripping a restaurant that they had gotten a comped meal from. So she got the comped meal and then still went on Yelp to trash it. And I'm like, that's some Heart of Darkness stuff right there.
Soft opening, if I recall.
If you sold yourself to the devil to like get that free meal, your only opinion is.
Hold on, time out. Soft opening?
It was a soft opening, and from I believe
she prided
that's why
herself.
You have a soft opening, right?
Right.
To work out the kinks.
Yeah, man.
People don't get
and
that.
one starred it, and he was like,
one started and then was gleeful that had been closed. So to me, there's a difference between, again, and this is a thing that I wanted Saul to like have a code word. Yeah, thank you. A Fat Guy to have like a code word where I can keep my mouth shut. But I think, I don't know, tequila, I lost my track of mine. But
don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, like, yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just to understand the culture and the amount of effort that goes in to what you're eating. And not every day are you going to have a great meal, but at the end of the day, like, people are working hard.
Definitely.
If you enjoy it, have fun.
I know Denise from 5280, you can tell she's like a hero of mine, but because I keep name checking her, but we
do it all the time.
Well, she talks a lot about there being inconsistency in the city, and that a lot of people, I'm guessing, will then go to Yelp because they've had maybe an inconsistent meal. But I think you have to think about the burdens the city has right now with being able to keep a workforce in a restaurant when there are so many restaurants opening up. So I think that your first thing can't be to ruin someone's livelihood and business dream.
And reputations
and
like
reputation.
That are and you see folks like, and you're an Instagrammer, so you've got to be as active. I mean, I'm as active as I am. But shout out to our friends at Grateful Bread. Like, they were like, fuck, we can't keep, someone on staff long enough because they're going to go join the trimming, bud game, or whatever it is. Like, the restaurant industry, and I mean, I've done every single position since I was 14, from fucking like bussing tables all the way to bartending and then every other aspect you can do in the back of the house. But they've been displaced, everyone's like, well, fuck it, for $15, I'll just go trim bud and I don't have to wake up and make it 10 a.m., but for you to diminish a whole restaurant based off of maybe a waitress isn't having her best day, or she had school that morning.
We're all people.
Who the fuck are we to judge? I have off days all the time. This podcast sure as hell doesn't, but we do. You see what I did there?
Oh my God, they just high-fived each other. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, I see you got your camera out.
We wouldn't touch mics, but we have them on our new stand.
In the words of Dave Chappelle, he slaps it on his thigh when he's proud of himself. So shout out. Oh, and to our friends at the Fillmore and to our Live Nation friends who put on shows like Aziz Ansari coming to the Buell Theater in February.
I want to see that.
Yeah, well, we may have tickets available on our Instagram, so don't be shy to go follow No Vacancy CO. Our friends at Live Nation Colorado, follow them also. You never know what's going to happen, but that's just a small little plug in a large scheme of great questions we have ensuing. So, Chris, lead the way.
Yeah, so I think we did cover some good ground there. We get off on our tangents every now and then, but they're good tangents.
We all hate the same people. How can we not love that?
Right.
We can start talking about the president if you want.
Exactly. No. We're gonna leave that. We're gonna leave that on the side. But let's talk about one thing. Is like, what's your? We'll start with Chris. What's your like kind of go-to like? You know, it's hard to say cheap eats because it makes it sound like it's not good food.
Under
best
$20.
meal under $10. Like if you're going,
let's say Twinkie, because I'll stick a 10 in a stripper, but I won't stick a 20 in a stripper.
Okay.
What would you spend $20 on? Best $20 you want to eat? Because 10 really handcuffs.
10 is tough.
I think it is that food truck scene. I think it is the things that are going on at Finn's or, you know, there in Rhino, stuff like that. Again, you know, being married doesn't happen very often, and the wife being vegetarian doesn't appreciate that so much unless it's the mac and cheese truck. But when you talk about somebody that's putting like soul and effort and like it's their livelihood and that translates, I think that's a good venue for that. You know, not into the fast food scene, of course. And
you got a food truck you want to shout out? We do Civic Center Park food truck tours. Like, that's a big proponent of us. Do you have a food truck you love? The mac and cheese?
We Chef. Have you guys been? They make like nachos, but they're Asian nachos, so they're wontons. But then when this delicious, almost like a cream sauce, and then chicken, and it's Asian, and noodles, and it's delicious. We Chef.
I haven't heard of that one, but like, so if I handed you $20 right now, where would you go to eat? Where would you go to grab yourself a meal?
I'd probably go grab a beer at Ratio and see what they got parked out front.
All right.
Would be my answer.
That's a good answer. That's a great answer. And they do great work over there as well. And they also bring in, I think I had bao buns last time I was over there. And it was a pork belly, which, you know, usually it's kind of considered, I mean, honestly, it's a fattier, a little bit, you know, thicker bacon cut. But at the same time, like, to get 3 bao buns and a beer at Ratio, you can do that for $20. So for our friends that are like, man, I'm strapped, you know, rent was just this past week. If you want to grab the wild hair, I think Chris is giving you pretty much a pretty strong answer. You can get a $5 beer at Ratio. You can get a cheaper beer on happy hour. About under $5, and then you can get out at that food truck for under $15. That's a fucking money spot.
What about you?
I know, I'm looking it up. Oh, Chicken Rebel. Okay.
If I gave you $20,
right? Chicken Rebel,
dude.
Chicken Rebel, we love. Food truck.
Okay, but it doesn't have to be a food truck. It could be anything. But if I gave you $20 right now,
I'd go to White Pie. Have you been to White Pie?
Yeah, it's actually in the neighborhood, right over there next to the PSL, for those that are in the healthcare industry.
Amazing pizza. They call it New Haven style, which, being from the East Coast, I didn't necessarily know what New Haven style is.
Connecticut's big enough to have their own pizza style?
I was like, Connecticut has a style?
But it's really well designed. It's really beautiful inside, and the pizza, and that can be...
Is there a picket fence around the pizza?
No.
Actually, someone cuts your yard.
Cuts your yard. I love it.
Shout out to our friends in Greenwich.
2 brothers, Chris and Jason, own it. They also own Dos Santos. And you can also find their dad behind the pizza bar making pizza. So it's just like a total family affair. But anytime pizza's name checked as best in Denver, they make that list.
I'm a Mexican snob, and Dos Santos is legit. So I would trust that, and it is now on the list.
Okay, good.
And I couldn't agree more with both y'all, and it makes me want to. And what we're not sponsored by anyone except for our friends at Live Nation. But what we are is we're friends with folks that try to help their community. And so I want to remind everyone that if they sign up for Feast Denver, Feast Locally, sponsored by Feast Denver, restaurants like Dos Santos Tacos and White Pie, as well as places like Chow Morso, Milk Market, as well as multitude of more. But you are given an opportunity to get 20% off of your meal, alcohol included. That is a pretty big proponent for those that are in the Denver scene. So if you like places like White Pie or Dos Santos, then y'all should look into joining the group that's called Feast Locally, that is put on by Annie at Feast Denver. And they are in the same boat as we all are, like supporting local businesses. And what she does is she gets